All right, we are live. Gonna have give a little bit of a couple minutes for people to get on, but when you do get on, shoot any questions. Looking forward to discussing the slate. It is my type of slate. Having very, very low totals with fairly priced set takers. Realistically, I think in my holder I have 1, 2, 3. I have every position a set taker except for second defender and goalie. And I think utility, depending on how you swing it and how you feel about like ZH and stuff like that. So should be an interesting slate. See a couple people on. It's always good when you're doing these lives to not have like 0 people on. It's like, all right, what the hell am I doing here? But thanks for joining. Just going to send just one quick tweet out just saying that we're live, and then let's just jump into it. All right, so let me just do what I've done in the past on these. Is let me just give my like 3 to 4 minute spiel on the slate. If you haven't checked out Mayo Media Network as my main preview, just figured it's easier for me to do it live versus like the post production and things like that for the FSI one. So here's kind of how I see the slate. Forward position to me is just plug in Pascal Gross, plug in Jaime Rodriguez. Brighton is a must win. They're one above the drop zone. 3 points pretty much at this. Like if they get 3 and Fulham lose to Chelsea, Brighton's going to stay up. So it's a huge game. Leeds, is a good team, but no Rafinha, I think it's a big deal. So I think Pascal Gross is the first one in. Jaime Rodriguez, Everton, outside shot at Europe, at the Europa League. They're not going to make Champions League, but outside shot at Europa League. So, plug in Jaime, still over a majority of set pieces. He's splitting with Gylfi. Maybe Dean takes 1 or 2, but, Jaime is the center focal point of Everton's offense. So you plug those 2 in. For me, the third play is Reece James. I think, realistically, Chelsea rotation decides a lot of the slate. I'm not on Mason Mount, even if he's in. I think 10K is just, I think it's just a little too much on the slate. Like I actually have, I don't do projections, but I like do projections in my head. I would project Jaime Rodriguez and Pascal Gross both with more floor than Mason Mount. They also fill a forward spot. So to me, I want Reece James. Without Mountain, Reece James probably has some sets. Maybe he splits with ZH, but I expect like a full rotation for Chelsea. So, versus Real Madrid, they started Werner. They started Pulisic. They started Mason Mount. Reece James on the – it was Azpilicueta as right wing back. Left wing back was Ben Chilwell. I think realistically all those guys could be out. Bringing in guys like ZH. I think that Kai plays as like a false 10 and they maybe bring Giroud back in the side, but we'll see. But, you can see Giroud, you can see Kai, you can see Hakeem Ziyech. At right wing back, I think you see Reece James. I almost feel good to say that he is going to be in the lineup. And left wing back, Alonso needs to start. Cholo needs a breather. So all that kind of goes. I think if N'Golo Kante is a really solid value, 3,400. I just think that he's so important. And, he's actually just a week removed from not being fit. And we know how much N'Golo Kante runs. I really think that, maybe they bring in Billy Gilmore. Maybe it's Billy Gilmore and Jorginho in the middle of the park or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they bring up a youth academy kid. Who knows? The crazy thing about all this with Chelsea is they still need to win, because if Liverpool wins on Sunday, then they're right back in the hunt. So it's just wild. But I would assume Chelsea still needs to prioritize the Champions League semifinal, going back home over this game. So I think for me, Reece James is there. Then probably the fourth core for me at this point is Calvin Phillips. 4,500, has a share of set pieces. We know no Rafinha, so we know Calvin Phillips will have at least the in-swingers. He could have both sides. It's probably going to be Jack Harrison. But to me, if you're going to pay 7,500 for Jack Harrison, why wouldn't I just pay 6,700 for Hakeem Ziyech? At some point, right? I know the season's almost over, but at some point we're gonna have to see the good Hakeem Ziyech. I almost feel like Tuchel tries to. I don't want to say any bad terms, but you probably can think about cut away guys creativeness. Tuchel just doesn't seem to give a free license on offense. He's such a pragmatic coach, but ZH sub 7K, to me that's going to be really hard for me to pass on. So he's in my holder. Second defender, I think the big thing is they're going to go up to Alonso or Dean, or do you go like mid-tier? Just trying to think of the guys in the mid-tier. Seamus Coleman, if it's like a right wing back situation. Beltman, if he's playing right wing back, you got to be careful. He's been playing back three, which I would expect again. Just trying to think of the names. Target took some set pieces for Villa, so 5,300 is okay for him. Eiling always seems to get there. There's Coleman, 4,900. I skipped over Elmo. He's not going to be in. Matty Cash will be back. He's 4,700. He's fine. Yeah, so you got some options. Lewis Dunk, I mentioned on Mayo Media Network, really, really interesting pairing. It's 4,300, which is kind of gross price for a center back, but Leeds can struggle on set pieces. Pair him with Pascal Gross. That's a really good GPP correlation play. And then if you think that Brighton really needs to win, which they do, then put in Sanchez too at goalie. So I think that's kind of the slate. So 6 minutes in, I'm going to open up for questions. I've got about 5 minutes left before I got to go upstairs and brush the kiddos' teeth. So, a couple people are on. Any questions, I will open it up. If they're not questions, then I hope that this really, really quick quick overview of the slate does end up helping. I know a lot of the people that can't be on and watch this again, so I did go quick, but I think that I hit the highlights of the slate. Let me just go over maybe a few other plays. At the forward position, I think El Ghazi is interesting, but it's too expensive. I just can't fathom playing him over Hymus or Pascal Gross. I do think that Brighton stack for GPP is really interesting. You get a lot of that news early. Chelsea, when they don't score goals, hasn't exactly been DFS dominant or DFS, great. They, if anything, at times when they're struggling to score, they've been super disappointing. So, you really could see that. The lowest owned team on the slate, nobody's going to do any sort of Fulham. For those who knew my guy Bill before his early DFS retirement, this would have been a slate that he would have had 2 Fulham stacks, and they'll come in, or mini stacks, right? So you're doing Lookman with Mitrovic, and you're running it back with Areola, or is it Cavallero or Bobby Reed or somebody like that? You don't nobody's telling you to play 6 Fulham pieces, but you could play Mitrovic and Lookman, or just Mitrovic, but run it back with Areola, right? Because you're saying 1-0, Fulham wins, Mitrovic goal, Areola probably gets you 18 to 20 DK from shots and stuff. You could still run it back with Reece James or Hakeem Ziyech, some floor plays, Marcus Alonso. That's interesting. Again, when you're playing GPPs in these large fields, you're leveraging ownership. Do you own any non-gator hats? Actually, Chris, it's funny you say that. So I own 3, and the kid decided to take possession of all of them, and they have different versions of just covered in dirt, been through the pool, all this stuff. So it's the orange gator hat. I definitely need to invest in more hats at this point. It's getting repetitive. So I do know, one, I saw a DM after my I got a couple questions on Calvert-Lewin. I think he's fine. Everton, maybe they come in a little bit lower owned because people go Brighton and then they go Chelsea and they don't have much space left. So if you want to do a mini Everton stack, 6,500 for DCL, I'll have no problem with it. You need a goal. I think that's what we've learned with Calvert-Lewin. You're not getting shots. You're not really even getting fouls drawn. You need a goal. But again, I would really like pairing stuff together if I'm going to go off the board with a striker. So, it's Hymus, DCL, and then saying that Everton, go with the script, right? So now Everton dominates the game. It's 2-0. So I'm going to play Pickford with it too. And maybe to really get off the board, Michael Keane for a center back goal. You're leveraging that type of stuff. I think that would be interesting. Or hell, Gylfi Sigurdsson on this site will not be owned. Has PKs. He's only 1 game removed from 2 goals. That's an interesting, GPP leverage. Villa. So it's actually interesting as I'm saying this. I think that a lot of the ownership is just going to be on the chalk guys. So Hymus, Pascal Gross, Chelsea, I think people are going to get somewhat enamored with Brighton when, they kind of realize Brighton's great for DFS and they need to win. So, I think that last game, maybe it goes very low owned outside of Jaimes, Rodriguez, and then, Fulham. So those are three teams that probably don't get much ownership if you're playing GPPs. Large field are completely okay with winning or getting last place, which if you're playing like these $15, $20, GPPs that are top heavy, you legitimately should have the thought process. And maybe this is where I'll end on. Your thought process should be, I need to win it, or if I get $25 as a consolation prize versus last place, it doesn't matter because, getting 11th place wins me like $40. Like what good is that? That's more, I don't know about you guys. That pisses me off more than it does like, oh, great, I cashed. It's like, I got 11th place and I didn't even like triple my money. Like, come on. So if you're playing those big fields, get weird, get some correlations that, maybe other people won't do. Accept the risk, accept the variance, and see what happens. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And with that, I'll say, see you.